lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Jeannie, go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events in agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
So weather modification using lasers, and you heard the reporter going, allegedly, so I say allegedly, it isn't real. Yeah, it's real, okay? And yes, they used weather control during Vietnam, they used weather control during Bosnia. We know that. Okay, we've covered weather control before. We've covered geoengineering before with regards to chemtrails. With the whole laser situation, the directed energy weapons, Lawrence Livermore Labs, 1998, UFO, tire fire, remarkable and weird and peculiar tire fire, strange happenings now with the fires in Northern California, strange reports about the fires in Greece, and we still have that situation with the sun being darkened for 3 hours in Siberia. Does it all seem connected? Yes, it is connected, and we'll talk about it coming up. Stay tuned for more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The number to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm really impressed. People are posting on my Facebook page the report that was originally filed about the UFO we saw, actually, that we reported about in 1998 August. We talked about the UFO case, the Fallen Angel. We called it Fallen Angel, Tracy UFO crash. Olaf Phillips and myself, radio station in Reno, Jennifer Lipshin, and Ronnie Zamora were all the witnesses of this UFO back in 1998. We were saying that it wasn't a alien spacecraft, but it was some sort of a experimental craft that was provided by the military. We had words actually got a fax from someone telling us that it was some sort of a weapon that was being used, and some sort of secret weapon that was being used to bring it down. And at the time, that was amazing. 1998, that was amazing to hear that maybe something really advanced was being used to bring down either, a foreign craft or maybe even an alien craft. So we were, our imaginations were running wild. And as we were investigating, we found out that there was actually a tire fire in Tracy, California. Tire fire burned the tires for 2 years. 7 million tires were engulfed in flame, melted them into a crater that left an oozing, oily substance in the ground. The owner of the tire dump, which was an illegal tire dump, Silas Royster, was found dead on his bulldozer, and someone said he was trying to help matters with the fire. The official death was cancer. We were freaked out. We didn't know what was going on. We thought maybe he saw something he shouldn't see. There were agents poking around in the area. And we did more investigating. We found out something that was interesting, that there was an area of Lawrence Livermore Labs. Lawrence Livermore Labs was right there in the area where this all happened. And Lawrence Livermore had an area called the National Ignition Facility that at the time was experimenting with directed energy weapons, and their laser weapons development was a top secret project since 1974. And the goal was to create a laser that produced energy levels that rivaled the power of a nuclear bomb. Now, when fired, this laser is capable of unleashing the power of the sun. It's basically a super hot weapon. The project was kept secret until 2009, and actually it was 192 lasers that would be aimed at a hydrogen pellet the size of a BB. And in a split second, a quick bolt of energy or a flash would go, and you would either see it or not. It just happened so quickly, and then the devastation would result. What's interesting is the fire chief that witnessed the tire fire that was looking at it, he said, there's nothing, it's unbelievable. He couldn't figure out why it burned the way it did. It was just unusual. It was crazy. He said that it looked like an atomic bomb had hit. And this is exactly what he said. He said that atomic bomb had hit, and this is something that he said was peculiar. And so later we find out they're working on this laser project. Well, what's interesting is the reason why I'm bringing this up is, well, you know, the report, in my opinion, is very, very, very telling of what may be going on with the fires in California, Northern California. And the reason why is because I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying, you should look at the cars. They're melting. The cars have melted. And look, you're looking at metal, you know, a car melting in the fire. You're looking at heat that could go way beyond 1,000 degrees, okay? We're looking at heat that, you know, is melting tires and melting the aluminum on the rims, okay? And yet the trees surrounding the cars are not even burned. So it's like there's directed energy weapons being used, and they're being used for geoengineering. Now, in the last hour, I played for everybody how this is not out of the question. Michio Kaku appeared on CBS. I think it was back in 2013. He appeared on CBS, and he told people about these lasers. Now, listen to what he has to say about lasers being used for weather control and geoengineering.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Kenny, go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
So there you have it. That's Michio Kaku speaking on CBS, confirming that lasers could be used for geoengineering, but firing them into a cloud, creating lightning bolts. But firing them out to create fires in order to change the ecosystem and change the weather, that's something that would be amazing. And it shows because a number of people are sending me videos and sending me emails with pictures of what appear to be melted cars in this whole firestorm that's been happening in Northern California, in Greece, and, of course, what happened over Russia, Siberia, is also part of this whole thing. It's all linked together in some strange way. And so tonight we have two guests on the program that want to come forward and talk about what's happening. Elana Freeland, of course, who's a Waldorf school teacher, lecturer, storyteller, and also she's written in alternative publications, many alternative publications, edited the stories of survivors of MK Ultra, ritual abuse. Her most monumental book, Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth, connects how the chemical aerosols whiting out our skies and ionospheric heaters around the world work together to assure 7 major military operations of global control. Her follow-up book titled Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown came out in March of 2018. We also have with us Jamie Lee, who lives in Santa Rosa, right at Ground Zero. He worked for 25 years on Wall Street. Since then, he's taken up biodynamic farming and gardening. He's written 3 books, runs one of the top 5 alternative news websites, and has 120,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. He is audio didactic, and the last of the iconoclast. So both of you, Elana, welcome to Ground Zero. Are you there, Elana?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hi Elana, you're on, and of course, Jamie, are you out there? Jamie Lee.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Wonderful.
Fantastic. So
yeah, thank you. And that was nice to hear your voice. I got to know you a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate you being a part of this program, especially since you're right at Ground Zero, Jamie, and you're reporting about the fires and the strangeness of the fires. So many things have been happening that appear to be apocalyptic, and they are made to be that way. It seems that this is all being created. A lot of weird reports of directed energy weapons. Jamie, what say you? You're right there in the middle of it. How is it that people are coming up with these outrageous ideas?
Well, I have a YouTube channel titled The Plain Truth on YouTube, PLANE Truth, and I've got, I counted 42 videos about directed energy weapons, laser weapons, patents used off Google patents of up in the ether, using that to use directed energy from above. The sophisticated energy is been known for a very, very long time. I worked in Wall Street for 25 years as a research analyst, and some of my friends are still in the industry. And, we play the don't ask, don't tell. I can ask them questions, and if they don't answer, then I'm right. If they tell me, then they'll tell me I'm wrong. And so right after the events happened in Santa Rosa, I was acutely aware of directed energy because I had paid attention to what had happened up in Fort McMurray, Canada in August of 2016. A one-day fire led into what was called the Beast Fire, which went on for 2.5 months. And the exact same profile that I saw in Santa Rosa on October 9th, where there was no storm forecast, there was no winds in the air. They say the winds came from the east. I've lived here all my life. The winds never come from the east at all. CAL FIRE Still, 9 months to the day, CAL FIRE Chem Pimline has only identified 12 out of the 170 fires that came out of nowhere and started that night.
Wow.
As causes by PG&E from trees falling on top of them.
So what we have...
There's not just a cover-up going on.
Right.
There's a serious, I don't know what the heck just happened, okay?
Right. And,
so I saw this, and I filmed it.
Right. I'm getting information, though, from people who are there, too, that what we have going on is we have some remarkable, just people not quite understanding how these fires started. So we're going to get back with you, Jamie. And Elana, we're going to talk about your history, too, and what you know about direct energy weapons. We're running behind right now, so we're going to get to commercials, come right back. A lot of breaking news about these fires and the greater possibility of direct energy weapons being used for geoengineering. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We managed to get a better hookup with Jamie Lee in Santa Rosa, along with Elana Freeland. They're both there. How you doing? You both hearing me okay now?
Yep.
There you go. Okay. And what about you, Jamie? You hear me fine? Okay. I think Jamie is not hearing me for some reason. Jamie, you there? Okay. Well, apparently Jamie is not aware that we're on the air tonight. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay. Well, we're going to talk to Elana anyway. Tell me about how the research into Lawrence Livermore's directed energy weapons and their ignition centers. Tell me about that history, because that goes back to 1974 and the idea of directed energy weapons and how they use them.
Well, directed energy weapons have been ever since we brought the Nazis over under paperclip. I mean, directed energy weapons and electromagnetic weapons basically has been just the pinnacle of science, and everybody's been chasing the dragon across the skies for that a long time. So I think that where you saw a really big change was in the 80s and the 90s when the...
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jamie, we can hear you.
There you are.
We didn't hear you before, but we're talking with Elana right now. So are you there?
Can you hear me?
Jamie, can you hear us at all? I don't think Jamie can hear us at all. We may have to go back to the telephone. I thought we had a better connection with Jamie.
Well, I was talking to him.
Yeah, well, he's not hearing us for some reason. He's not hearing me. Ask if he can hear you, Elana. This is
Jamie, can you hear me now? Oh, no, he's gone.
Okay, he's gone. Okay, well, we're going to have to then maybe get a better hookup. But anyway, tell us about the background. You say that these directed energy weapons were a product of the German scientists from Operation Paperclip or Project Paperclip.
Yes, that was the big thing. While we were working on the bomb and spreading the false rumor that they too were working on the bomb to make us frantic and to pour money into the Manhattan Project, they were actually working on, besides MK Ultra stuff, they were working on electromagnetic weapons. And when we brought them over under Paperclip, we picked up speed in order to digest what they had achieved and move them into position so that they could have carte blanche as far as Cold War money went and pursue the dragon in the sky is what I call it, the electromagnetic weapons. And where you really saw it begin was when John Alexander, the Penguin in the aviary, moved to Los Alamos National Labs in order to become head of the non-lethal weapons department. So the non-lethals were very important, Clyde, because they pretty much escaped all of the conventions that we had established internationally to prevent the use of space weapons and to really curb the use of electromagnetics for weapons. When we put the word non-lethal in, it's as though it was a real magic act that just disappeared, these weapons. So after the 90s, in the 90s, things really picked up. That's when individuals were being targeted immensely. And of course, meanwhile, they're working on the space weapons. But as I've said in my book, Under an Ionized Sky, they were not able to completely fulfill the Strategic Defense Initiative in the Reagan years or in the Clinton years, where they renamed it the Ballistic Missile Defense Program. It went black, and then what they needed was Bernard Eastland's ability to zap the ionosphere with HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, and get a lot of those ions down here into our lower atmosphere, ionizing the atmosphere, so that then they could utilize these weapons on a 24/7 basis.
Like Michio Kaku said, he said you can fire into the sky and create lightning bolts, do whatever you want. And, of course, the media there was saying, well, you should say this allegedly can happen. Well, there's no alleged about it. It seems that it's happening.
Sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads. Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that that can be done.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Lasers, direct energy weapons used for geoengineering. Aiming them at forests to create fires, or are they aiming them at certain areas just to reduce them to rubble? Apparently pictures around the internet now are showing automobiles melting in place. We have rubber tires melting as well, and we have the rims melting, and you'd have to have super high heat for that to happen. Tonight, Elana Freeland's been talking with us about these energy weapons going as far back as Project Paperclip. We did an investigation in the Lawrence Livermore Labs doing experiments back in 1998, which brought down a projectile UFO into an illegal tire dump. 7 million tires burned for 2 years, and it took another 10 to clean up that mess. The fire chief said it looked like an atomic bomb had hit there. After much investigation, we realized that Lawrence Livermore Labs was doing a laser test, 192 lasers firing into a hydrogen BB, creating a massive heat ray. And Jamie, we got you back on the phone because of the fact we had a hard time with the hookup on Skype. We're going to try and get that hookup again at the top of the hour. Hopefully we'll be able to work out the kinks there. But in the meantime, you said you were working on Wall Street. You have some inside information. You're also right there in the belly of the beast. Jamie, give us a lowdown as to why people are suspicious about these fires.
Well, it's you got to understand things, and people just understood the term directed energy weapon. We're just learning. We're just starting to know, but it's pretty much, no offense to the audience or any listeners, but it's willful ignorance. I mean, if you think about lasers, they're in every business of every category you can imagine. I mean, go to 7-Eleven and get a laser pen, and you can shine it up and get in trouble for flashing at 3,000 feet up into the air into a pile of ties. So I try and educate people as to what do you think the military might have if you can get on your laptop traveling at 30,000 feet at 500 miles an hour, they find your IP address and you can download and upload. What do you think the military of the world has had capable that they haven't told you about? And they just go all the way back to Nikola Tesla's free energy, which frequency, energy, vibration. They've held the keys to the kingdom for a very long time. They're just executing and using the technology. But when you brought up temperatures, when iron and steel melts at 2,795 degrees, aluminum 1,236, the hottest fire and wildfire ever recorded was 1,742 degrees. And this came out of nowhere, 170 fires in 9 counties with dozens of cars slipped on their roofs, not just torch, but slipped on their roofs. Cardinal Newman ball field with laser-like precision, and then it crosses a 6-lane Highway 101 and torches 100,000 square foot Kmart, but leaves the eucalyptus trees and everything else alone. Same to McDonald's, but leaves the gas station alone right next door. Like they said, the most electric forest fire in history. What's going on? It's new technology? No, it's old technology. Global directed energy weapons market expected to grow by 29.6% CAGR, comprehensive annual gross rates of return. It's what they're planning on growing is technology, and they're executing a scorched earth policy now on no uncertain terms. We just have to wake up to it. There's no denying it's happened. I got a document here from 1920 talking about, sourcing, using lasers, developing them back then. Tesla technology. And here, just one more sec here, by technology, we have the high-energy lasers, we have high-power microwave lasers, we have particle beam devices, we have chemical lasers, we have fiber lasers, and we have free electron lasers. Under products, we have lethal and non-lethal, as Elana was so beautifully talking about. And then we have by application, Homeland Security and Defense. We have by geography, North America, Europe, APAC, Middle East, and Latin America. It isn't a secret when you see that the Air Armament 2020 Directed Energy Symposium on October 11, 2007 by the NDIA Air Armament Symposium was Directed Energy Dictoriate. They held a symposium on directed energy weapons in 2007. It's not hard technology. It's just now we're seeing the technology being employed in Greece. We see it not just in Canada, but in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're seeing it in Santa Rosa. We saw it 3 months later down in Santa Barbara, and they just hit them again in Goleta. Just certain areas being torched, homes being torched down to the ground. And the trees are fine next to it. Basketball court is fine next to it. There's a picture I've got of a house being sawn in half. And every single fire person I've ever talked to has said the same thing. We've never seen anything like that before. And when you speak, sir, about geoengineering, you got to bring it full circle. And it's the aluminum oxide from the geoengineering spraying over the past decades, which has seeded the earth. And that's why we're also seeing pictures, which I posted on my site, of trees with laser-like precision burning up the middle of the trees. Have you seen those?
Where do we go on your website to see those? Because I'm sure my listeners would love to come to your website and take a look at those pictures.
Yeah, it's called A-Plane, P-L-A-N-E, Truth. .info on YouTube. And I just look up directed energy. I'm posting a bunch of stuff. But what we need to understand is that the soil has been seeded in the forest and in houses and stuff of this conductive aluminum oxide, which added with a little thermite, it creates thermite. And that's why these fire guys are saying that we've never seen fires are breaking out everywhere. There's no wind patterns. There's no typical storms coming off the West Coast and creating the storm fronts to make this happen. This is all being made on the fly, and they're coming up with new terms like Fire NATO to explain 50,000-foot columns blasting out of Lake Shasta and now into Trinity County. They have no concept and context of which to judge and rate this stuff because they don't understand the power of energy. And Elana's book is really critical to understand because she gets into how the weaponization of the sky works, the fence being put up, the ether, the electromagnetic energy, which they've been able to tap for a very long time. It's kid stuff to these guys.
Well, we've been seeing a lot of what we call disturbances in the torsion field, and we've seen some disturbances of the magnetic field. And Elana, you were warning us of the space fence and what it would be capable of, including enhancement of directed energy weapons and the enhancement of HARP or HARP-like weapons on the grid system. What are we seeing now? What is the progress of the space fence, and what is the progress of what we're seeing? Are we seeing the beginnings of this with the fires all over Northern California?
No, I don't think that's the beginning. I think what we're seeing are terrible real estate deals for Agenda 21, 2030. I just learned today that Trump canceled the sanctuary federal funding of California. And now I'm wondering if they're just trying to drum up some money under disaster capitalism. What's going on in California is always about beta testing. I mean, California for the West Coast, New York for the East Coast, beta testing. And they're doing target practice in California, coupled with money deals. As far as the space fence, it's already functional, and I assume it's already under AI. We're seeing it in the targeting, and I think we're all waiting with bated breath for the 5G to be implemented, because at that point, when the 5G is in touch with the Internet of Things that's all around us, that will be the last piece of the space fence puzzle in the groundworks that are needed to operate in tandem with what's going on in the upper atmosphere through the rocket launches, the jets flying up there, everything going on sandwiched between a ULF bubble around the planet, which I call the ring, like a ring of Saturn. And down here in the groundworks, we're all plugged in now. And with California, we're really seeing, and in Greece far away, we're really seeing the addition of basically firebombing with lasers for money deals and the Agenda 21 coming up.
I've been receiving pictures from listeners saying that there was a photo taken from a Western hotel in Greece that showed something coming from the sky, creating the massive fires there. I was just wondering, Jamie, do you have any information about Greece being targeted for this type of experiments on the directed energy weapons?
Well, I like everybody else, we're all just learning. I just want to really emphasize that. And what I've learned also from the photographs and stuff is I'm finding evidence of being a directed energy weapon dude, we've been dude kind of, in the Oakland fires out here in 1991. Somebody was posting on Facebook, and I looked it up, and sure enough, the same thing, 3,000 degree temperatures, melting steel cars. I mean, things like that. Engine blocks completely removed in the Oakland Hills fire. So they do the testing. I've watched them test some stuff over in Iraq, and they usually do it overseas. But now it's being brought home. We see all the military equipment being brought home, and people say, would you attack your own country? No, it's nothing like that, because it's a world organization. There's just one place that clears all of the money transactions in the world, and it's in Switzerland. And the guy's name's Rothschilds, who are the Vatican bankers. That's who run the Federal Reserve. We got to wake up to who's running the show. So Greece could be attacked, or Canada can be attacked, or Santa Rosa, which is part of their occult, is Satan's rose. It's very occult, and the days they do it on are very occulted. And they're just target practice, like Elana's saying, because they've had the technology for a very, very long time. And, just think about how you can get your stuff anywhere. What do you think, they can do? And so the 5G is the what I got, the bumper sticker says 5G killer technology, because it's checkmate, because then you're frequency controlled.
Well, I know for a lot of people, yeah, it's all about frequency. It's all about how we can, mess with people's heads and also mess with their lifestyles. It's difficult to believe that our planet has been weaponized before our very eyes, but that's exactly what's happening. At first, we're seduced by the convenience of the wireless world. Then we have atmospheric weather experimentation in the guise of carbon's climate change, and then we convert the air we breathe into an antenna with HAARP. Now, the geoengineering we've been subjected to for 2 decades has somehow created a new kind of storm to change the weather, the firestorm. And you were talking about the fire-nado, or the tornadoes that are fire tornadoes, to explain what's going on. I don't know if you know anything about the Carr fire in Northern California, but apparently this fire has burned so hot, so over-the-top hot, that it's created its own weather system. What can you tell me about that, Jamie?
Well, if you go and watch my videos, I have a CBS announcer guy who's talking about the fire-nado, trying to explain it. It's so laughable. You got to catch them when they do it and record it. But they explained it as that the air turned solid. The actual words he used was the air turned solid. Okay, so he's rewriting physics right off the bat. There's no explanation for a 50,000-foot column of air of a fire that started 8 miles off of 101 in Whiskeytown, the lake I put on, where 3 boats were laser torched, but the bait shop where I used to go to was completely fine 10 feet away. I mean, it's just so obvious. I've got it right on my screen right here, and I know we're not visual, but if you look up Lockheed laser weapon systems, they will show you an article titled Harnessing the Power of Lasers. It's got a car on the front of its hood, a truck, and it's showing a laser fire through the hood of the freaking car. Lockheed Martin is moving at light speed to position these capable systems for success on the battlefield, but they're showing a regular automobile that they're testing it on their site. That's how they tell you what they're doing. And it's just in our face so much that, it makes us come inward about what we can do. And that's just, what I call look, touch, and feel, is get together with your friends and family, wake them what's going on, show them the information, get them Elana's books, because we're students now. They're the experts. We're following what they're doing and just trying to bring to light some incredible information that really is hard for people to, what the hardest part I found is people can't believe it. evil can be this bad.
Well, I know that's the thing. They can't believe that a government would do it. They can't believe that any private industry would do it. But it seems to me that we know for the longest time that they have been discussing ways to geoengineer the planet or to weaponize the planet in order to change the climate, change the weather, and give people the idea that we're having an apocalypse or that things are falling apart all around us. Coming up, I'm going to talk with Elana and Jamie about what happened in Siberia, give you the information of the follow-up, and what may have happened is that what we're talking about here, a laser direct energy weapon being used over Siberia that frightened people. They thought something devilish was afoot as the sun darkened for 3 days. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. On the phone with me right now is Ronnie McMullen of Life Change Tea. Ronnie, I got to tell you, I tried the tea. It's not only the tea that makes you go, but it's the tea that makes you lighten up. Why does it work so well?
Well, we have intruders in our air, in our water, and what the foods we eat, because GMO foods were attacked. They don't even mark what foods are labeled and full of GMOs, which, by the way, GMO is genetically modified organism, which means you have another organism from something else in your body changing your DNA. And that's the whole purpose. So this kind of goes and tries to get rid of all the intruders and slides them right out, and that's why it's kind of the nickname, the tea that makes you go.
You know, it's always been said that a lot of problems start in the digestive tract. If you have a bad gut feeling, you'll have a bad feeling overall. How does this eliminate that bad gut feeling?
Well, it goes right in and takes care of the intestines, cleans them all out, so you get rid of all the garbage. And here's the cool thing. Herbs know their friends. And so herbs and good friends and other herbs, that's all good. But let's say you're eating like something that you shouldn't be eating, it will actually take that out. And people have to know that when they take this tea, you need to take it 2 hours before or 2 hours after you take a pharmaceutical drug, because it will see that drug as an intruder and take it out of your body.
What exactly is in the tea?
All kinds of things like persimmon leaves, marshmallow root, mava leaves. I mean, it goes on. It's aloes in there. I've got moringa in there. It's like 8-10 items in this tea.
So this is a real cleanse for the body, a daily cleanse for the body.
Daily cleanse for the body every single day. People say, oh, yeah, I took it for a month and it was great and I don't need to take it anymore. And I just say to them, that's like washing your car once and then saying, oh, I don't need to wash my car ever again. Wrong.
Thank you so much, Ronnie McMullen. It's Life Change Tea, a unique blend of all natural ingredients. It's not only the tea that makes you go, it's the tea that lightens you up. Just go to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
You're listening to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
We've received a lot of emails and posts on Facebook about the listen line that's available on TalkStreamLive.com. Some people are saying they're hearing the same show over and over again. Let me give you some numbers you can call. What we've done is there's so many people who have been calling the numbers to listen to the program that they had to increase their number spread. So get a pencil if you want to listen to this program on the phone and you want to do it without using your data. And this is how it's done. Let me give you the numbers. 1-605-781-1298. That's 1-605-781-1298. And 1-712-770-9701. That's 1-712-770-9701. If you're late to the party, you can always get the podcast on the phone. 857-252-1086. That's 857-252-1086. So the preponderance of the evidence is overwhelming about how this planet is being weaponized. And a recent event in Siberia, we talked about this recent event in Siberia, may prove that a weapons test started a number of huge fires in the area that caused a tarry black cloud substance to form, and it was there to basically darken the sun for 3 hours. It was reported that Persistent wildfires were burning for days in central Siberia, which were producing smoke plumes traveling northeastward. A cool frontal system with clouds apparently entrained the smoke. Witnesses saw a blinding flash, a blinding column of light in the sky that made the cloud grow, made it grow even bigger. It's made for extremely dark conditions on the ground. The cloud spread over an area the size of Italy. The wildfires were burning hotter and temperatures soared to 80 degrees in an area that is usually cold. The dark clouds thickened and the temperatures dropped 20 degrees. The fires contributed to the liquid cloud formations and a storm resulted. The enhancement of the clouds and the dark oily clouds were created by aerosolized smoke. This led to an almost opaque blanket that prevented sunlight from reaching the surface. It later rained on an oily substance. An oily substance came down on the area. People say it looked like an apocalypse that was brewing. It appeared to be the open testing of a geoengineering directed energy weapon, something that we even speculated about at the time when we had Pastor Begley on the program. It was very, very terrifying to hear what happened that night, that Friday, over Siberia. We get some comments on that from my guest tonight, Jamie Lee, and also Elana Freeland. This is some amazing news. A lot of people are clamoring now to talk to us about direct energy weapons and their possible use in Northern California, Greece, and now Siberia. Or 1-712-770-9701. I'm giving those numbers out now because we have a number of people who want to hear this show tonight because of what we are talking about. And I have to tell you, while mainstream media entertains and distracts many Americans with the Donald Trump Russiagate circus of idiocy, our planet is literally burning to the ground. Though there are a great many anthropogenic or man-made factors related to a number of fires that are incinerating what is left of the Earth's forest areas, the most significant factor of all still goes completely unacknowledged, and that is the idea of climate engineering or engineering programs, geoengineering programs. And we heard many times segments of this program about Professor Michio Kaku mention the use of lasers for weather control on the CBS Morning News back in 2013. He stated as a point of fact that, quote, we're shooting trillion-watt lasers into the sky, end quote, reference the use of lasers to induce changes to naturally occurring weather phenomena. Professor Jean-Pierre Wolf and Dr. Jerome Kasparian, both biophotonics experts at the University of Geneva, actually organized a conference at the World Meteorological Organization to discuss how powerful laser pulses can be used to generate changes in the atmosphere that influence the weather. If the laser pulses are directed into a hydrogen matrix and then they're fired, that can rain down on a forest or even a grassy field, killing off vegetation and changing the ecosystem, which affects the weather. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is fact. And while certain powerful constituencies are well aware of the extremely powerful forces that can be unleashed through the use of a directed energy weapon and a laser, these same groups would like to keep the general public unaware of these technologies and programs as they're being used. Meanwhile, we watch the world burn, and we see the freak anomalies that show a grim possibility that what I was talking about in the earlier hours back in 1974 from Lawrence Livermore Labs in Tracy, California, what they were using then to cause that tire fire may be the same things they're using now for the fires in Northern California, the fires in Greece, and what happened in Siberia last Friday. This is very scary and immediate news. We have Jamie Lee with us tonight on Ground Zero. He's there in Santa Barbara, California, and Elana Freeland. Now, Elana, you were saying to us, actually you were talking to me before we went on the air, you said the whole area of Northern Europe is right now heated up, and we have the fires, and of course, that all connects with the Siberian fire. What else happened there in Northern Europe?
Well, what's going on in Europe? I've been watching it for a few months now. We have a guy in the Facebook geoengineering group who his name is Rick Duarte, and he does a site called Weather Wars International, and he does daily reports on weather events going on all around the world. And I have noticed a consistent pattern of certain European countries that are definitely NATO countries that have been hit with floods, and sometimes after the floods for several days in a row, and we're talking serious floods, we're talking cars floating away, then when it recedes, there will be a fire. And these will be actual forest fires. These will not be the same kind of fires where the trees are standing, but all the buildings and cars are melting. This is a different scene going on. But the main thing, Clyde, is that you're right. The world is on fire. This is going on all over the world, as if those dark magicians that run this geoengineering program from the United States and Britain are sending a message of destruction that is hard to miss. And I was on Kev Baker's show yesterday, and I waxed eloquent on comparing this to the Ordo ab Chao, order out of chaos, philosophy of secret societies that John Kennedy spoke against just days before he was assassinated. And so I do feel that a show is being put on. A very strong message being sent. This is definitely not climate change. This is definitely not global warming. This is weather as a war instrument, and the addition of the laser is now firmly entrenched in my mind as being part of the geoengineering program. Now, before we go on with Jamie, I want to make clear that some people are going to come up and say, well, how do you know it's a laser because you can't see lasers? Well, yes, you can see some lasers and some lasers you can't. If it's in the, not all lasers are invisible. Some operate in the visible and some operate in the infrared. Infrared is 1 millimeter to 750 nanometer wavelength, and visible light is 750 to 400 nanometer wavelength. And the blue laser light over Santa Rosa, and Jamie is from Santa Rosa, not Santa Barbara, the blue laser light over Santa Rosa fires has been seen by multiple eyewitnesses. You can see laser light if there is a tremendous amount of particulate matter in the air.
Yeah, I would say that you can see that. I wanted to point out a few things here before we move on and talk with Jamie about a few things. A lot of footnotes regarding climate change for a reason for the hotter fires and what seems to be an onslaught of fires because of the heat. But I was reading an article the other day, according to the journal Science, these fires are isolated. They're hotter and move slower and don't seem to be burning as much land as we thought. Global burned area, this is according to Science Journal. Global burned area dropped by about 25% over the previous 18 years. Fires that do burn have been known to remain burning in a relatively focused area, which would actually make sense if the fires were actually pinpointed with accuracy of a weaponized blast. Such findings appear to fly in the face of widespread reports that human-caused global warming is increasing the severity and frequency of wildfires by fueling drought and higher temperatures. So we're looking at, the global warming excuse, but it's not an excuse. In fact, we're looking at fires that are not acting like typical forest fires or even wildfires. I was just looking at ABC 10's report of the updraft, the column updraft of the large winds creating what appeared to be a column of smoke that looks like a fire tornado. Jamie Lee, what can you say about that?
Well, again, we have to take this and bring it up to full scale. You combine geoengineering with the biggest and the baddest of who runs the show in global directed energy weapons like BAE Systems, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. And then the other vendors are an Israeli aerospace industry, Saab, and the Thales Group. You should really learn about who the Thales Group are. This is super high advanced, but the geoengineering is also extremely critical and part of it to weaponize the air so they can use it's electromagnetic energy. And it's focusing us on to learn about Tesla technology, which is frequency, vibration, and energy is the key to the universe. And he's exactly right, and they've had the keys for a very long time. So what we're seeing is not just lasers, but we're seeing lightning storms of biblical proportions. I mean, the pictures in Thailand and things like that. But Clyde, what I really want to emphasize is there's another agenda. And you talk about a business agenda. Yes, they have a weather derivatives market in Chicago, and they bet on the weather. We control it. Yeah, if you control the weather, what can you do? But the smoke is also used for steering weather because we've destroyed the environment so long ago. To make cloud condensation nuclei, they use carbon from the smoke too to direct and use energy there. They can make it rain. They can make it drought. North Africa's on freaking fire. Sweden's on fire. The Arctic is plus 25 degrees on average temperature, never before seen temperatures. I mean, we should be ringing bells everywhere, and everybody's sitting here saying, well, watch this.
And this is an anomaly. This is not something that climate has, increased. They say that this is an anomaly. This is not, and that's what's funny is that a lot of people, even some of the more, what we call liberal papers, are coming forward and saying, do not footnote this with climate change. It has nothing to do with climate change. We are ignoring the fact that this is a spike and an anomaly that needs to be investigated.
Well, climate change is an oxymoron. I mean, what a stupid term is that? Of course the climate's changing. What stupid thing are we talking about here, folks? I mean, give me a break. I mean, we have to get real about our education system and adult this conversation up. Yes, things are getting extremely hotter, but also they had the second coldest winter ever in the East Coast this year, and out here in the West after the torching, we had before the torching, we had the second biggest winter ever here. It's climate extremes. It's climate gone wild. The fish in the ocean are dying. Everything's, we got to wake up to this, not apocalyptic, because that means lifting the veil of untruths and lies in its origin. But it's about waking up and saying we care enough to start changing and being awake to this is going on. I've got a book titled Geoengineering. I wrote a book about it, and it's the least seller on Amazon because no one understands that you need to educate yourself about the weaponry and about the causal factors and there's targeted individuals who are using touchless torture. I'm being psychotronically attacked. Alana has many people she knows as well. Dear friends are getting attacked for our work. That's another silent weapon for quiet wars.
Don't forget the diplomats in Cuba, the diplomats in China, the diplomat in Singapore, and even the Helsinki Secret Service agent that died on the golf course with Donald Trump. We had an insider whistleblower tell us that he was actually attacked by one of those weapons as well. Jamie Lee with us tonight on Ground Zero, also Elana Freeland. We're going to get to your phone calls also tonight, so don't go away. This is a very exciting program because a lot of people now chomping at the bit to talk about what's going on with these fires in Greece, Northern California, Northern Europe, the temperatures rising. This is a spike. This is not climate change. This is a unique event. And this is why it needs to be stressed that throwing it to climate change is taking away the very importance and the intensity of what's going on here. They're throwing you under the bus. They're gaslighting you and making you think it's all about climate change when it's something that is far more sinister. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
It's the things that go bump in the night. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Elana Freeland and Jamie Lee are my guests tonight on Ground Zero, talking about the fires and the possibility of directed energy weapons being used to cause the fires. I just want to tell you the reason why, I am completely in awe of something I just saw. I have a groups page, the Ground Zero groups, Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis group page. Someone had directed me to this page, Jamie and Elana, and while I have seen the melted cars and I've seen the melted rims, which of course had to have melted at over 1,000-degree heat, I'm now seeing animals. People are showing animal pictures now. They've taken pictures of the animals and how they look. It is quite unnerving to see just how fast the devastation has been with this, because the animals have been frozen in time, where they are nothing more than ash in the mold and shape of an animal. It's just like they are. It's like they've been nuclear. It's like a nuclear bomb is hit, and what you're seeing are these ash piles in the shape of what used to be animals. Have you seen these pictures, Jamie?
I looked at a few. I chose not to look at all of them, but the same thing happens with like the Round Barn, which was an 1890 structure, a very iconic place here in Santa Rosa. And you look at a picture from above, and the footprint is just of the building. There's no concrete, there's no steel, there's nothing. It's down to the base, and it's just torched around it, and there's no vegetation touched. This is the accuracy of these, and Elana, I want to really emphasize what Elana was talking about. There's visible and non-visible light. And I have on my website over 40 to 50 people like myself who saw blue light because the refracted light occurred because of all the dust particulate matter. But it operates in a spectrum of 1 millimeter to 750 nanometers, and we only see from 750 down to 400 nanometers. So, yes, it happened. Yes, we have invisible proof, including myself that night, and there's no one to talk to. And we have many other problems here in Santa Rosa. The military's kind of moved in. This guy, James Lee Witt, was tapped to bring in to run Santa Rosa's Rebuild North Bay here in California. He was Bill Clinton's buddy at FEMA, and now he's bringing in all his E5, E6 visa program buddies from India and China to take jobs and come work here in Santa Rosa as part of the contract from Darius Anderson, who's a PG&E lobbyist, and owner of the Press Democrat newspaper here as well. And the guy that runs the Reddit Credit Union is taking in $32 million of our donated money. Robert Steele, his other business on his side job, when he's not being on the board of directors, is running as an executive at Global Alliance Insurance that makes money from disaster capitalism. And so does James Lee Witt. James Lee Witt has a disaster capitalist company, too, called Secor, which made $15 million in disaster capitalism. And folks, I was in Wall Street. It's called disaster capitalism. There's no expenses. They just take people's money and make profits, but they're bringing in foreigners. Foxconn is coming into Wisconsin. Foxconn is the largest maker of smartphones and everything else. Alabama's turning into China. They're turning us into manufacturers because the global debt is now shifting to the BRIC countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's part of their plan. They have their own bank system already set up. And they're going to a cryptocurrency that you'll have to be out on the phones. You'll have to get your real ID. I mean, if this isn't an enslavement of a technological kind in so many ways, but now it's scorched earth. They're just choosing places to go at. So we need to grow up and really face what we're looking at. I really honor, Clyde, you having the guts to even go here on your show, because so many people are afraid of talking like this.
Well, I was skeptical of it until I remembered the investigation we did into a UFO crash in Tracy, California, and it wasn't an alien UFO. It was a military exercise out of Lawrence Livermore Labs where they were using their laser weapons. Now, back in 1998, no one knew of the laser weapons technology. No one knew that they were working on this. And no one knew that Lawrence Livermore had the National Ignition Facility that at the time was experimenting with directed energy weapons. They may have, or it's more than obvious they used it, because the tire fire that happened there lasted for 2 years, took 10 years to clean up, get the hot spots taken care of. But they said that the burn looked so controlled, and the fire chief said it looked like the aftermath of an atomic bomb. One area that would be like ground zero, and all that was left was a big molten, oily rubber pit, and inside it were steel-belted, crusty radials. It was just, he said it was terrifying because the trees left unscorched, the area left unscorched, except for that one area where the pit had happened, as if an atomic bomb or some direct energy weapon had hit. That was his words. So, I mean, put two and two together. They were testing something back in 1998, August of 1998. More with your phone calls coming up on Ground Zero. This is an amazing, amazing look at what may be happening with the fires out in California with the direct energy weapons. Elana Freeland, Jamie Lee, my guests. We're going to go to your phones right after this break. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
There are flames that are building up near a lot of these homes. That's why crews have come into this area. They are laying down hoses.
It is the world's largest and highest energy laser system. Highest energy laser system.
Complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. News out of Mendocino, California as of 7:45 p.m. tonight. A new fire has started and it's spreading. Mendocino, California. It's seems to be an epidemic of sorts, a pandemic of sorts. Fire everywhere, and we're wondering what may be causing it. We're talking about direct energy weapons, which of course is controversial, but it's certainly, hearing Jamie Lee, my guest, and Elana Freeland talk, it's certainly a viable possibility with all of the technology that they've talked about. Even Michio Kaku back in 2013 talked about on CBS News. We're going to go down to Derek in Massachusetts. Hi, Derek. You're on Ground Zero.
How's it going, Clyde?
Good. Go ahead.
I have a couple quick comments. First one, I noticed that flash. I'm coming from Massachusetts, so I don't think it's related at all to what you're talking about. But the night of the blood moon, I had we had humid days leading up to it, and probably the one nice day where I would imagine there'd be no thunderstorms was the day we had a giant flash at 4:30 in the morning, which parallels the time of the call of the police officers you play sometimes. 4:30 in the morning was the time where they experienced their flash too. So I think that was a coincidence. And then about the fires in California, I'm in a conspiracy group on Facebook, and a couple of my friends live in Redding, and they live right near where the fire is coming from. So we've been talking about it recently. They've been posting pictures of like the actual fire map, and if you look at it, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. The fire is only not on Iron Mountain. It's like a mountain near Mount Shasta, which is known as being the ley line, obviously. And Iron Mountain is this off-limits place where you can't go to where there used to be a mine, but now it's like, I guess it's not safe to be there. It's like leaking some kind of radioactive chemical. So you were saying last week how the gamma radiation is leaking out from the center of the Earth. So I was wondering if maybe something's going on at Iron Mountain that kind of connects the Serbian black cloud and also all this type of ley line, type of earthquake phenomena, and maybe they're working in that area and they're using the fire in order to prevent people from getting there. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
So what do we...
It's like a barrier.
Okay, so using the fire as a barrier to keep people away from radioactivity, is that what you're asking?
On Iron Mountain, yeah. If you're from California, you'll be aware of what Iron Mountain is. But it's like a no trespassing. It's a lot of military work. And I have a buddy who lives right across from it, and there's like weird military activity that goes on all the time, but you can't go there.
Okay, let's ask Jamie about that. Weird activity going on in Iron Mountain, possibilities linked to this. What do you say?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a whole different subject there, but they do have military bases up there. The Bushes admit that they've been into the bases there. That's nothing new. But it's more about that this technology that is so highly advanced is being weaponized all over the world, and basically targeting the western states, forests up in Canada as well, and up in Siberia. So, why are they burning everything up? Why are these homes, people are fleeing in Santa Rosa here, nobody's moved back into their homes. You were speaking about the Siberian fires. I reported on the lights going out there for 3 hours in the middle of the day on July 26th. And that was a sun simulator. They've had sun simulators for a long time. I'm looking at an article here, how a Russian space mirror briefly lit up the night. It's a smart news.
However, the caller's statement about Iron Mountain is interesting because there's never one reason for fires like what are going on in California. Perhaps because it is near Redding. Perhaps it is a distraction from whatever is going on at Iron Mountain as well. Why not?
Well, all of that, yeah. All of that.
All right, fantastic. Let's go to Mike in Washington. Hi, Mike. You're on Ground Zero with Elana Freeland and Jamie Lee. Go ahead.
How you doing, Clyde? How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Go ahead.
I have a question and or comment. A number of years ago on, I believe it was the Military Channel, they were talking about weapons, and one was about crowd control, where they had mounted on some kind of a tracked vehicle a square panel that shot microwaves, and it was supposed to disrupt the crowd, and it could be aimed. And,
yes, that's the LRAD.
Right, and a number of a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, there was a prison that got a hold of a portable one somehow, and they were hooking it up to bars in a cell, and they were putting unruly prisoners in there and basically cooking them for a while until they kind of got their act together. They were using it as a punishment tool. I think it was on 60 Minutes. What's to say that they don't have some of these things floating around out there unbeknownst to everybody, and, like on the back of a pickup, and they're just driving around and going to town. I don't know. I may be totally off.
Well, certainly there are targeted individuals that have that experience. In this case, with the California fires, there have been too many people who've seen the ray coming from the sky. So I'm assuming it's either jets or satellite or
Could drones do it? Yeah, drone. Probably drones. Yeah.
But your point about these weapons, the ADS and the LRAD being mobile and smaller, is exactly right.
Right. And they've been using those type of weapons and experimenting with those on the Olympic Peninsula, have they not, Elana?
Yeah. Well, what are you thinking of, Clyde?
I'm thinking of the tests that they've been doing, the intermittent tests.
You mean the growler jets?
Yeah, the growler jets have been using electromagnetic.
The growlers have much more sophisticated technology, and most of it, I think, is surveillance, but it is definitely acting in correlation with some sort of Humvee on the ground with a radar installation on top of it. It just seems that they're not interested necessarily in killing people except as collateral damage to their operations.
Seems like it. Yeah, it's really kind of sick.
And if I could add, those are called active denial systems. They're called active denial systems, and it's in the non-lethal category, as I explained in the different technologies they use them for. So there's many, many, many different uses for all of this technology in many, many different ways, and you can talk about the minutia, but the basic understanding now is that there is a world war that is silent, that is going on by there's anybody that even has a idea of looking at a car flipped over on its roof or a baseball field sliced in half black, half grass, it has to come to the conclusion that something we've never experienced before. And just to underscore, this is going on not just in this country, not just in Canada, but we have evidence in Spain and Portugal and China. China had cars torched, but we also saw it at 9/11. We're all the way out to the Port Authority, some quarter-mile away, some 32 cars were torched as well. So directed energy weapons was used on 9/11. That's Judy Woods proved that pretty dang conclusively in my book, in her book. And so, that's not something that's old, and this is kind of like old technology that is being precision executed on a map of the forests of the western states, no doubt about it. Last year was a big, huge fire year as well. So, why are they doing it? Well, the Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, and there's just too many dang people in the world, according to the Useless Eaters commentators, and we're just, the reason why they call them soldiers is because they're sold to die, soldier. That's why they give them dog tags. In capitalist markets, they capitalize. They don't care about anybody. It's bottom business line, shareholder value maximized. And that's where we're at with Google, Amazon's getting into homeowners insurance now. Amazon bought Whole Foods. Google owns the new driverless cars we're all going to be in. Wake up, people. You want an independent lifestyle? Grow your own food and know your neighbors now is what I'm saying, because it's going to get really hard to move around.
Let's go to Shane in Colorado. Hi, Shane. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, guys. How you doing this evening?
Good. Go ahead.
Good. I was hoping to ask Elana what other kind of programs were going on at Los Alamos Labs, because I had like a really private tour there when I was a kid.
Los Alamos Labs or Lawrence Livermore? I said Lawrence Livermore. Did you talk about Los Alamos, Elana?
Yeah.
So what was going on at Los Alamos?
Primarily directed energy weapons are there. Now, anyway, I don't know when the caller is talking about, but it's mostly directed energy weapons, which includes ionized and non-ionized.
Just go back to the 70s?
Back to the 80s?
70s.
70s. Back to the 70s.
Late 70s.
I don't remember, but I know I know directed energy weapons weren't at the top of the list at that time. I would assume it would have been depleted uranium, and other ionized weapons.
Huh. Yeah, they cut my hair and sent me out there on an airplane, and I got a real private tour past all the armed guards, and I don't remember much except going through doorways and walking out the building. I've told the story before, but you know what's going on with these fires, which is I know what the real subject is. You know, it sounds a lot like what was going on in ancient Scotland, where they have all kinds of evidence in these citadel walls of these, energy and laser cuts, where it looks like they were hiding from something that was shooting lasers. Kind of sounds similar.
Yes, from ancient science, very possible that all of this technology has been here before and that civilization had to start over because of it.
Wow. Well, Elana, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and I really appreciate you guys taking my call tonight. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Shane, for calling the program. Yeah, it reminds me of, if you read some of those ancient Vedas, if you read about the Vimanas, if you read about many of these ancient, I guess they call them aircraft. They were able to fire down from the sky huge fire columns, which sound very much like lasers, sound very much like heat weapons. And, of course, back in the 1800s, you had H.G. Wells writing about the War of the Worlds and how the aliens had a mirror system. They had a mirror attached to a bright candlelit beam that was able to burn fields of all kinds of crops and be able to kill people. And that was the basis for War of the Worlds, the idea that the aliens had technology, laser technology that we hear about now. So it all comes from the minds of science fiction or even minds of ancient texts, this type of weaponry that could be put together quite easily and maybe used now. And like I said, I always refer back to what Michio Kaku said in 2013. They're using lasers to control the weather, and they use these lasers to control lightning bolts anywhere they want. They can put down a lightning bolt, cause a fire, or even destroy property. So this is not too far out of the question to say that maybe we are seeing the aftermath of these tests for geoengineering reasons. Jamie Lee with us tonight on Ground Zero, and Elana Freeland. Your calls coming up again right here on Ground Zero. Don't go away. A whole lot more coming tonight as this story is unfolding and more people are coming forward to say that these fires are just not right. We'll be back. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
All right, let's go back to the calls. We have Jamie Lee with us and Elana Freeland. We're going to go to Lee in Louisiana. Hi, Lee. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. So, a bit of a comment question. A little skeptical on why they would set so many fires in California to mask anything the military was doing. Don't get me wrong. I definitely.
Well, we're not saying. Okay, first of all, Lee, stop. We didn't say they're masking anything the military is doing. A caller said that.
My apologies.
Yeah. Okay. So first, get that straight. A caller said that. Go ahead.
With these directed energy weapons, yes, the LRAD and some of these portable devices. Why would any of these be used to set fires anywhere? I just don't see what the purpose of that would be.
Jamie, okay. Let Jamie answer or Elana answer, okay? So stop a minute, Lee. Why would they use these directed energy weapons to start fires?
Well, I mean, the timber is biochar. The oceans, the rivers are all getting algae, which is synthetic fuel for gasoline. We're switching to batteries. the light rail system they were supposed to put in, they switched to a heavy rail, the SMART train here in Northern California. It runs from San Francisco to Santa Rosa, which they're now extending 300 more miles, but using industrial tracking because, as I said, the United States is now a resource extraction, and so they're setting the rail cars over the next decade to be doing resource extraction up through Northern California, and the biochar areas and the regions are burned down now will further the biodiversity plans that have been clearly laid out at Rio in 1993 in the climate change agenda for Agenda 21, because this is a zoning for biodiversity, and humans just aren't welcome here. We're just, they're putting in water restrictions now. They have plans, Clyde, that was passed in November 2014, legislation by Jerry Brown to create to spend $500 billion to build the new era of mega dams. These mega dams, one of them, the first ones, is planned to go in Fresno in the central basins of California, and another one right outside Lake County, which has been in perpetual fire now next to Mendocino County and still on fire again. One of my friends is a fire captain. He had to get evacuated 2 days ago, and it is causing where they're planning on putting on these mega basins for their water storage facilities, because we're going to battery-powered cars and we need hydroelectric dams, and if the Sierras don't provide the snow, where's PG&E going to get their power? Well, they're going to get it from solar-based energy systems, because the Solarian company is using energy based from the sky. That's the technology that they plan to roll out to everybody, but that's why you're seeing the power being shut off now by PG&E down here ahead of the fires. They shut it off in Redding in Shasta County. People were saying their power was being shut off.
It's disaster capitalism. Yeah, disaster
capitalism. But it's also connecting to a different grid connecting in space. It's a world space power, and it's run by Solarian Corp, SOLAREN, out of Manhattan Beach. You see all the admirals, all the big brass are on the board of directors and everything. You can see their diagrams. You can see all the contracts they have around the world. I went to Hurricane Harvey 3 weeks after it happened because I wanted to see the people, because Red Cross took in $425 million, and not one person out of 50 I interviewed saw any of that money. And they said they opened up the dams is what hurt them.
Well, what we're doing, okay, well, we're out of time now. So, Jamie, thank you so much for your on-the-spot reporting. And, Elana, once again, always a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll do some follow-up if follow-up is needed. Jamie, once again, thank you for being there. And be safe. Don't get in harm's way with the fires. And, Elana, again, we will talk with you again soon. We appreciate you being on the program tonight.
Right. Thanks, Clyde.
Take care. Bye-bye. And we have more Ground Zero on the way. Surprises coming up. We have Deborah Tavares who will be speaking. She wants to come on. Olaf Phillips to talk about the Lawrence Livermore laser UFO case of 1998. A whole lot more coming. Don't go away. 888-673-3700.
China. Ground Zero. So this is where the first guy got AIDS.
Peter, this is the site of the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Oh, so Saddam Hussein did this?
No.
The Iraqi army?
No.
Some guys from Iraq?
No.
That one lady who visited Iraq that one time?
No, Peter, Iraq had nothing to do with this. It was a bunch of Saudi Arabians, Lebanese, and Egyptians financed by a Saudi Arabian guy living in Afghanistan and sheltered by Pakistanis.
So you're saying we need to invade Iran?
Just like you saw here in the reason I'm calling bullshit on this is because it doesn't make any sense. Look at how widespread this fire is. Next video I'm going to show you is showing how a tanker, a 5,000-gallon tanker, fuel tanker, is how it burns. It doesn't burn and take off a quarter mile of cars in the same thing where no cars can escape the fire at all. So if you watch this next one, you'll see that the fuel starts and then it goes. I've got it speeded up for the time. So you see how it ignites right at the truck. Look at it in front of all the truck in front, the cars going by. You see the poor man, you see him running around trying to go, oh shit, it's on fire, what am I going to do? Well, you get the heck out of it.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero.
Watch out. This is the same kind of oil tank.
The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700.
see you have a fire spreading across the road there.
I call this show tonight Fallen Angels with Flaming Swords, and the reason why is because this is kind of a follow-up to an article called Fallen Angel, UFO Case Tracy, California. And while a UFO case may not or may be coupled with an investigation into direct energy weapons, you can be the judge of this because in the first hour, I pointed out that there was a UFO Hunter special about a UFO case reported back in August of 1998 where something that appeared to be a laser weapon was fired from Lawrence Livermore Labs and brought down what would be or could have been a military UFO. Now, this was 1998, a time when drones and laser weapons were all still part of Star Wars.
But when you see
and things out of the X-Files, all this strangeness was still happening. Now, I wanted to actually bring on Olaf Phillips for a minute, because the reason why is Olaf and I, back in 1998, filed this report, and he was the subject of a UFO Hunters investigation about what happened, and it was determined that what eventually, after 10 years, we found out that this incident was linked to Lawrence Livermore Labs and a special project that they were working on called the National Ignition Facility, where they were working on a laser where they would fire it into a hydrogen BB, and this would create major havoc and major problems. And so I'll let Olaf come on and talk a little bit about that. Hi, Olaf. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde, how's it going?
Going well, man. And I noticed that a new Paranoia magazine is out. We're very excited about that. And thank you so much for the edit on my new book that's out as well. Just go to Amazon.com, type in Clyde Lewis. You'll find all that information. But Olaf, while I have you on for this moment, I just want you to go back in time to 1998 and describe for the listeners how this all tied to Lawrence Livermore Labs using a special weapon to bring down a UFO over Tracy, California.
Well, so so at one, it's actually longer than this, but the part you're interested in, basically, we had located a bunch of witnesses, and it was actually reported on the news here that a light had been seen streaking across the valley, heading toward high altitude, heading toward the Tracy direction, and that a beam had appeared to have emanated from the ground and intersected the vehicle, and then the vehicle then apparently crashed in a top-secret zone out by Tracy. And the thought was that the only, if you look at Livermore and Pleasanton and that whole area, the only place where that beam could have originated would have been Lawrence Livermore. And they were doing laser research at that time.
Yes, and it was reported after. And this is what's really odd is that as we were doing our investigation, I had asked you to at least send some feelers out there and figure out what may have been what could have been an aftermath of this investigation. And what we found out was that there was an illegal tire dump out there near Tracy, and that it caught fire. And it was burning 7 million illegally dumped tires, and that fire went on for 2 years.
Look at the lines through the asphalt.
And the guy who actually owned the facility where the tires were stored, I think his name was Silas Royster, he actually was killed in the fire. There are competing stories of he died on his bulldozer trying to put it out, or he just died, or nobody really knows exactly how he died. But he apparently died inside the tire complex, the tire dump.
Right.
And possibly fighting it, or I don't know, but he died inside the tire dump.
Now, they said his official cause of death was cancer, but we know that prior to the report of his death and prior to, immediately after the whatever happened there in Northern California, or actually just north of San Francisco. We were told that there were men in black, or at least agents in the area, snooping around, getting information from some of the witnesses. We heard of something being wheeled out on a truck, something that may have. What's that?
So what was happening? Yeah, so there were apparently MIBs that actually shut down a bunch of the witnesses. I think we had arranged to have somebody come on your show at the time, and they had backed out, and they had said that they had been visited by somebody. And what was happening is that these semis were going in to the fire area with bulldozers and various kinds of graders and various kinds of equipment to put the fire out. And then they were immediately coming out with large objects under tarps.
Yes.
And part of the fire took place just adjacent to, and I think it actually crossed the boundary into I forget what the name of the facility is, but there's a secret facility out there where it's it has about 20 or 30 foot chain link fences with razor wire, and it's a top secret facility.
Tell us about the facts that we received regarding what may have happened over San Francisco Bay, eventually culminating in this final end at the tire and the secret facility out in Tracy.
Please spread this information out.
So when we first started to cover it, the information was very dodgy. That it only came from a couple of witnesses, and obviously whatever had been broadcast on the TV, on the local TV channels.
Jeff Rentz
and
is show,
after I believe it was after the show, or maybe at the end of the show, you actually received a fax with back in the old days when people faxed us, with a number that didn't exist. And we tried to call it, we tried to look it up, and we tried to call around. And the phone system that the station used at that time normally had logged where the phone calls and faxes had come in from. And in this case, the log was blank. There was actually no record of the fax ever having been sent. And what the fax basically said, in so many words, was that an object had been detected by a advanced sensor network that's in orbit around the Earth.
Chernobyl now.
When the object had penetrated the kind of exclusion zone, defense zone, from Alameda, NAS Alameda, which at that time was still running, they had sent out two F-18s with anti-satellite missiles. They're called kinetic kill vehicles,
KKVs, firefighting aircraft,
and that was actually a bone of contention at the time because I like planes and stuff, but I had never heard of the Navy having any kind of a KKV or anti-satellite missile. And it turns out.
Psychological warfare campaign against
the F-18 Super Hornets were actually fitted so they could carry these things, and they did have them. And so they went out over the Pacific and fired them, and apparently hit the object and caused it to start to have some problems. And it had come in over high speed from the Pacific towards San Francisco, shot over the peninsula, and headed east toward Livermore. And then when it crossed over Livermore,
nuclear industry, state and federal
government took it out.
The laser. Yeah. Now, what's interesting and actually somewhat related to your book, Transhumanism and AI, is that at the time in '98 when that fax was sent, the guy who sent it, I guess it sounded like it was a guy, I don't know, it could have been anybody. The person who sent it actually said that the sensor network, the particular satellite that had picked it up and tracked it, did have a very sophisticated AI on board it. So the sensor network was AI enabled.
Some of the comments
I do remember that.
And this was 1998. This was 1998. We received all this information, and eventually, some years later, Olaf made an appearance on the UFO hunters, and he was there pointing out all the information. And after a lot of investigating, we found out that the tire fire had burned for 2 years. 7 million tires. 7 million tires were consumed. The fire burned longer and hotter than expected. And at the time of the report, the fire chief there in San Joaquin Valley said that he said that the fire or the area looked like it had been taken out by a nuclear weapon. That was his words. He said it looked like it had been taken out by a nuclear weapon. He said that there was a huge fire crater pit with the tires burning inside. The fire remained isolated. It didn't burn any of the surrounding area, just mostly the tires, and they melted a very high temperature into an oily mass, and that even after 2 years, they still had hot spots. We're trying to clean up the mess because it was such a toxic mess.
And more importantly, that the EPA had classified it as a severely toxic site and banned anybody from going in there. So even if you wanted to go look, you couldn't.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, and it's funny how a UFO case from 1998 has now brought us to this point of knowing a little something about direct energy weapons, and gave us some indications of the National Ignition Facility that at the time was experimenting with directed energy weapons, and their laser weapons development was top secret, had been basically first started in 1974. The goal was to create a laser that produces energy levels that rival the power of a nuclear bomb, according to a press release stating that all they had to do was they would take 192 lasers that they would aim at a hydrogen pellet the size of a BB, and in a split second, one quick bolt would be able to take down anything. It wouldn't necessarily have to be seen, or there could be a ball of flash of light. The destruction could be pinpointed in order to hit a target without disturbing anything in the periphery. So the reason why we're bringing this up, and the reason why Olaf is with me, is because we both did the handiwork in 1998. We were actually interviewed for a number of papers. The San Francisco Chronicle did a story. The Sacramento Bee, the Modesto Bee, all these newspapers, Stockton Record, all were talking about this, and then eventually just went away. It faded away because I think Lawrence Livermore didn't want anybody to know about their laser programs and the directed energy weapon.
October, we haven't had any snow this year. We're in January, you idiot.
Now, here in 2018, right, we're having crazy weather across the entire world. We have all these fires everywhere. Even in Europe, they have fires. And now what's been showing up is, again, UFOs. I don't know what they are, so it's unidentified, right? But they're UFOs that are now appearing over Europe in Asia that are shining strange beams of energy down toward the ground.
Right.
So, it's very odd.
There's also anomalous radar activity that's happening over Texas and several other states, too. I was looking at this the other day, and they say that this anomalous radar activity has nothing to do with chaff being put out by the military, has nothing to do with the weather, and so they're seeing these anomalies. Some people say it's birds, that there are birds winding up on the radar, and other people are dismissing it. So a lot of strange radar activity, too, happening over the United States. And so, it's some pretty amazing stuff. Olaf, thank you for taking the time to come on the program and talk about this. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a good night. Olaf Phillips, of course. Coming up, Deborah Tavares is going to be here. We want her to talk about the documentation she has about what is going on in California. You know, Deborah, she's amazing, and we couldn't pass up the opportunity to have her call into the program tonight and tell us about what she is investigating. More on the situation with direct energy weapons, perhaps being used in California, in Europe, all over the world, because they're telling us the world is on fire because of climate change. No, it's not. And in fact, this is a spike. A lot of reputable newspapers and places are saying this is just a spike, and it's an unusual spike. It has nothing to do with climate change. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
So rise up, wake up, shine your light, put your bick into the darkness, share the story with others. It's going to go on.
Now, I have to admit that in the past, when I had been told that direct energy weapons have been used to start fires and create mysterious explosions, I've been skeptical. And I told my audience, I said, this is like a zebra thing. I mean, you hear, horses gallop by. You don't always say, hey, those are zebras galloping by. They're just horses. But hearing about and seeing these pictures being sent of melted rims on tires, cars melted, and trees nearby not even being touched. Now, we know that fires operate in strange ways. But car tire rubber and glass are nowhere to be found in these cars. That means that the glass had to have melted down. And that has to be a very, very hot temperature for that to happen. It takes rubber and glass thousands of degrees to melt. I think aluminum melts at like 1,200 degrees or something. I mean, these fires are burning hotter than most. And as I said earlier, and as I had pointed out with what Michio Kaku said, he had said back in 2013 that geoengineering has stepped up. Not only are they using chemtrails to pollute the skies to create weather patterns and change the weather patterns, they also are using lasers. Now, it was reported yesterday that the car fire raging in Northern California is so large and hot that it creates its own localized weather system with variable strong winds, making it difficult for experts to predict which way the blaze will spread. Now, they also said that in the car fire, there was what they call a firenado, or a column of fire that they said was a tornado. It's not a tornado. It's actually an updraft that certainly creates winds. And because of the heat of the fire, and at least 19 people are still reported missing in Shasta County, California. Officials said at a community meeting yesterday, after shifting winds, dry fuel, and steep terrain helped the fire engulf more than 103,000 acres. The fire has claimed 6 people, including a firefighter and a bulldozer operator, working to extinguish the fire. The fire, which started a week ago, has burned now 103,772 acres, and it is just 23% contained, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, known as CAL FIRE. It scorched an area bigger than the size of Denver, Colorado. Flames have destroyed at least 966 structures in the area, making it one of the top 10 most destructive wildfires in California history. In fact, 7 of the 12 most destructive fires have happened there, and that's been going on since 2015. Authorities have speculated that the blaze was caused by a car having mechanical failure. However, we have images and video shot in the area that makes people question the veracity of the cause and whether or not something else is being used, like directed energy weapons, similar to what we talked about with Olaf Phillips earlier. Deborah Tavares will be on the program to tell her side of the story, and believe me, she says she has documentation that something is afoot. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Stay tuned. There's more intrigue and compelling talk